Lewis Carroll, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Chapter 3. A Caucus Race and a Long Tail. They were really a strange group that met on the bank. The birds had wet and messy feathers, the animals had their fur stuck close to their bodies, and all of them were very wet, unhappy, and uncomfortable. The first question was how to get dry again. They talked about this together, and after a few minutes it seemed normal to Alice to talk with them easily, as if she had known them all her life. She even had a long argument with the Lory, who at last became angry and would only say, "I am older than you and must know better." And Alice would not accept this without knowing how old it was, and because the Lory clearly refused to tell its age, there was nothing more to say. At last the mouse, who seemed to be an important person among them, called out, "Sit down, all of you, and listen to me. I'll soon make you dry enough." They all sat down at once in a large circle, with the mouse in the middle. Alice kept her eyes fixed on it with worry, because she felt sure she would catch a bad cold if she did not get dry very soon. "Ahem," said the mouse in an important way. "Are you all ready? This is the driest thing I know. Silence all round, if you please. William the Conqueror, whose cause was supported by the Pope, was soon accepted by the English, who wanted leaders, and had recently become used to taking power and conquest. Edwin and Morcar, the Earls of Mercia and Northumbria." "Ugh," said the Lory with a shiver. "I beg your pardon," said the mouse, frowning but still very polite. "Did you speak?" "Not I," said the Lory quickly. "I thought you did," said the mouse. "I continue. Edwin and Morcar, the Earls of Mercia and Northumbria, declared for him. And even Stigand, the patriotic Archbishop of Canterbury, found it necessary." "Found what?" said the duck. "Found it," the mouse replied a bit angrily. "Of course you know what it means." "I know what it means well enough when I find a thing," said the duck. "It is usually a frog or a worm. The question is, what did the Archbishop find?" The mouse did not answer this question, but quickly went on. "Found it necessary to go with Edgar Atheling to meet William and offer him the crown. William's behavior at first was calm, but the rude behavior of his Normans— How are you now, my dear?" it continued, turning to Alice as it spoke. "As wet as ever," said Alice in a sad voice. "It does not seem to dry me at all." "In that case," said the dodo seriously, standing up, "I suggest that the meeting stop for now, so we can use stronger ways." "Speak English," said the eaglet. "I do not know the meaning of half of those long words, and what is more, I do not think you know either." And the eaglet bent its head down to hide a smile. Some of the other birds laughed quietly. "What I wanted to say," said the dodo in an offended voice, "was that the best way to get us dry would be a caucus race." "What is a caucus race?" said Alice. She did not really want to know, but the dodo had stopped as if it thought that someone should speak, and no one else wanted to say anything. "Well," said the dodo, "the best way to explain it is to do it. And because you might want to try it yourself on a winter day, I will tell you how the dodo did it. First, it marked a racetrack in a kind of circle. The exact shape does not matter, it said. And then all the group were placed along the track, here and there. There was no 1, 2, 3, and go, but they started running when they wanted and stopped when they wanted, so it was not easy to know when the race was finished. However, after they had been running for about half an hour and were quite dry again, the dodo suddenly called out, 'The race is over!' And they all gathered around it, breathing hard and asking, 'But who has won?' The dodo could not answer this question without thinking a lot, and it sat for a long time with one finger on its forehead. the position in which you usually see Shakespeare in pictures of him, while the others waited quietly. At last, the dodo said, "Everybody has won, and everyone must have prizes." "But who will give the prizes?" many voices asked together. "Well, she, of course," said the dodo, pointing at Alice with one finger, and the whole group quickly crowded around her, shouting in a confused way, "Prizes! Prizes!" Alice did not know what to do, and in despair she put her hand in her pocket and took out a box of sweets. Luckily, the salt water had not got into it, and gave them out as prizes. There was exactly one for each of them. "But she must have a prize too, you know," said the mouse. "Of course," the dodo replied very seriously. "What else do you have in your pocket?" it continued, turning to Alice. "Only a thimble," said Alice sadly. "Give it to me," said the dodo. Then they all gathered around her again, while the dodo seriously gave the thimble back to her, saying, "We ask you to accept this elegant thimble." And when it finished this short speech, they all cheered. Alice thought the whole thing was very silly, but they all looked so serious that she did not dare to laugh. And, because she could not think of anything to say, she simply bowed and took the thimble, looking as serious as she could. The next thing was to eat the comfits. This caused some noise and confusion, because the big birds complained that they could not taste theirs, and the small ones choked and had to be patted on the back. However, it finished at last, and they sat down again in a circle and asked the mouse to tell them something more. "You promised to tell me your history, you know," said Alice, "and why it is you hate C and D," she added in a quiet voice, a little afraid that it would be offended again. "My story is a long and sad tale," said the mouse, turning to Alice and sighing. "It is a long tale, certainly," said Alice, looking down in surprise at the mouse's tail. "But why do you call it sad?" And she kept thinking about this while the mouse was speaking, so that her idea of the story was something like this. Fury said to a mouse that he met in the house, "Let us go to court. I will accuse you. Come, I will not take no for an answer. We must have a trial. This morning I have nothing to do." The mouse said to the dog, "Such a trial, dear sir, with no jury or judge, would be a waste of time." "I will be judge, I will be jury," said clever old Fury. "I will try the whole case and say you must die." "You are not listening," said the mouse to Alice severely. "What are you thinking about?" "I beg your pardon," said Alice very politely. "You had reached the 5th bend, I think." "I had not," cried the mouse, sharply and very angrily. "A knot," said Alice, always ready to help, and looking around nervously. "Oh, please let me help you undo it." "I will do nothing like that," said the mouse, standing up and walking away. "You insult me by saying such nonsense." "I did not mean it," said poor Alice. "But you get offended so easily, you know." The mouse only made a low, angry sound in reply. "Please come back and finish your story," Alice called after it, and the others all said together, "Yes, please do." But the mouse only shook its head impatiently and walked a little faster. "What a pity it would not stay," sighed the lory as soon as it was out of sight. And an old crab used this moment to say to her daughter, "Ah, my dear, let this be a lesson to you never to lose your temper." "Be quiet, Ma," said the young crab a little angrily. "You are enough to test the patience of an oyster." "I wish I had our Dinah here, I really do," said Alice aloud, speaking to no one in particular. "She would soon bring it back." "And who is Dinah, if I may ask?" said the lory. Alice answered eagerly, because she always liked to talk about her pet. "Dinah is our cat, and she is very good at catching mice, you can't imagine. And oh, I wish you could see her when she runs after birds. Why, she will eat a small bird as quickly as she looks at it." This speech made a strong reaction among the group. Some of the birds went away at once. One old magpie began to wrap itself up very carefully, saying, "I really must go home. The night air is bad for my throat." And a canary called out in a shaking voice to its children, "Come away, my dears. It is time for you to go to bed." For different reasons they all left, and soon Alice was alone. "I wish I had not talked about Dinah," she said to herself in a sad voice. "Nobody seems to like her here, and I am sure she is the best cat in the world. Oh, my dear Dinah, I wonder if I will ever see you again." And here poor Alice began to cry again, because she felt very lonely and sad. After a short time, however, she heard small footsteps in the distance again, and she looked up eagerly, hoping that the mouse had changed its mind and was coming back to finish its story.